This video is designed as an introduction to the Kansas Education and Liberty Act, also known as KELA. As you all know, Kansas is facing critical educational challenges, both in terms of budget and outcome. In response to these challenges, the Libertarian Party of Kansas has created the Kansas Education and Liberty Act as a piece of legislation that is ready to become law. In the coming days and weeks, the Libertarian Party of Kansas will be educating Kansans on our plan to improve the education of our children and to begin to address the budget shortfalls facing our state. In the coming months, we will be driving this legislation forward to become law. As you learn more about the Kansas Education and Liberty Act, it is our hope that you will contact your representative and demand that they support KELA. If they refuse, we hope that you will replace those representatives with liberty-minded candidates who are ready to take bold steps to empower the people of Kansas to achieve greatness in the coming decade. Together, we can control our future. This is a unique piece of legislation that addresses one of the most daunting challenges confronting the citizens of Kansas, the education of our children. Our already overburdened education system is now facing additional trials due to ongoing state budget deficits. This bill employs a creative approach, and it turns to the people of Kansas to both help improve educational outcome and to relieve the budget crisis. This act attains these goals by creating a program that increases parental and community involvement and introduces portability to education in Kansas. The Kansas Education and Liberty Act creates a vehicle to fund scholarships to Kansas students so they can attend qualified public and non-public schools of their parents' choice. These scholarships are funded by state tax credit eligible donations from both individuals and corporate contributors throughout Kansas. Taxpayers are empowered to give these donations directly to independent not-for-profit scholarship granting organizations that will in turn grant educational scholarships to eligible students. For each dollar that a taxpayer donates, within specific limitations, that taxpayer will receive a tax credit of $1 to apply toward their Kansas income tax liability. With legislatively mandated limits on individual donations and individual scholarships, the total tax credits associated with this bill are significantly less than what is currently spent by taxpayers to educate students in public schools, thus reducing spending from the state's general fund and reducing the budget shortfall. With the implementation of KELA, all Kansas children will enjoy improved educational outcomes in both public and private education. Students who are currently struggling in public education will be empowered to find an educational setting that meets their learning style and their personal interest. Pupils who are currently thriving in public schools will now have smaller classes and more resources, dollars per pupil, which will drive these students' achievements to even higher levels. The Kansas Education and Liberty Act, KELA, is not an untested approach. This piece of legislation borrows heavily from 18 successful school choice programs already in place in 10 states and the District of Columbia. These existing programs currently serve over 171,000 American students. This bill reduces three of the major problems facing public education. It decreases the number of students per classroom, it increases spending per pupil, and it increases parental involvement in education. With this bill, Kansas public education will gain valuable advantages to allow them to even better serve the families of Kansas. By allowing Kansas taxpayers to become actively involved in Kansas education through thoughtful and direct funding of education, we return a sense of educational ownership to all Kansans. This act allows taxpayers to contribute to independent scholarship granting organizations of their choice and make those donations a direct tax credit towards their Kansas income tax liability. This will give all Kansans an active role in the education of our youth and a sense of ownership that will translate into better educational outcomes. KELA borrows language from successful and court-tested programs from around the nation to protect educational access for all Kansas children. For example, each scholarship-granting organization must award a percentage of their scholarships to low-income students within the area they serve. That percentage varies by service area and is defined by the percentage of pupils in the public schools that are eligible for free or reduced lunches. For special needs students, higher scholarship limits are allowed to ensure that these pupils have equal access to school choice. Ultimately, you do. Since all scholarship-granting organizations, also called SGOs, are funded entirely through direct donations from Kansans, Kansans will decide which SGOs receive funding. If an SGO is not granting scholarships, as you and I see fit, we will simply quit funding them. There are some provisions in the Act to make sure that SGOs don't discriminate or aren't biased against any pupils, but otherwise it's up to you and me to decide which SGOs we fund. The simple answer is that parents and guardians will decide which schools their kids attend. Specific scholarship-granting organizations might choose to offer scholarships to a specific type of school or only those in a specific geographical area, but students may apply to any SGO that offers scholarships to the school of their choice. We trust that if a school is offering a quality product at a reasonable price, then communities will seek out or create a scholarship-granting organization to assure that potential students have access to potential scholarships for that quality school. Am I anti-government? Absolutely not. I am, however, very pro-individual and very pro-community. As a libertarian, I believe that the solutions to the problems of Kansas lie with the people of Kansas. As a libertarian, I believe that every problem is most effectively and efficiently solved at the most local possible level. For example, if I'm facing difficulties in my life, I believe I should first look to myself to find those solutions. Failing to solve the problem myself, I look to my family, then my community of friends, then my town, my county, my state, and finally, and only as a last resort, to the federal government. Under this model of responsible society, the role of the federal government is very small. The state government's role, being more local, is slightly larger, yet still very small. In America, the different levels of government were created by citizens to take care of shared needs that are impractical to address as an individual or at a local level. Through poor vigilance on the part of those same citizens, we now find our neighbors and ourselves looking to government officials, our employees, for solutions that should be found in our own homes or neighborhoods. The cost of surrendering our local responsibilities to some far-off bureaucracy is not only poor efficiency and effectiveness, but more importantly, it's the loss of compassionate and connected communities across America. And government has a role to play in America, but that role is limited. Individuals, communities have a much greater role to play in our society. We are the people who know how to help our neighbors through difficult times with dignity and compassion. We are the ones who create jobs and wealth. We're the ones that know what's right and best for ourselves, for our families, for our communities. This is our role, and it's time we quit hiring government bureaucracies to take care of our responsibilities. As a libertarian, I believe that we must maximize the individual and the community, and therefore limit the government.